Lovers Quarrel. This is the NorCal Classic qualifier with the muscle ups and snatches. This one is really straightforward, the game plan. Singles on the snatches for sure. This ends up being 55 snatches and 55 muscle ups if you finish it, which is gonna be very top end. But think about it this way, if you're gonna do 55 snatches for time, you would almost certainly do singles unless it was crazy lightweight, which luckily we do not have in this workout. So singles are the way to go. Now, when we do these singles, something that's important to really save time in the earlier rounds is to not walk away from the bar. Once you do your single and you drop the bar, keep your feet planted, and then all you have to do is readjust to grab the bar. It's really easy to get into the rhythm of doing your snatch and then walking away. That walk away is gonna add multiple seconds per rep, and in the lighter weights, that's gonna really add up, and you want those seconds banked for when we get into the muscle ups as that workup changes. So the next is we get set up into our lifts. When it's the lightweight, if this is toy weight for you, you can pretty much do whatever you want. But as that gets heavier, if you're still doing shit lifts, you're gonna be punished for that. So something that I see the biggest benefit to everybody for a tip is to keep the big toes glued down on your snatch. If your big toes get rocked back, there is no possible way for you to continue to use your quads in an upward drive. You now have to bang the bar out in front. So if you just watch yourself, video yourself snatch, watch your big toes. If the big toes come off the floor, your legs are now shut off and all you're doing is swing your hips in. So keep those damn big toes glued to the floor. As we get our setup, especially as the weight gets heavier, you can't overthink the lift itself, especially in a high heart rate and in a Metcon setting. So I want you guys to really just get into a good setup. If you get into a solid setup, there's a much better chance of you having a good lift. So as we get into our setup, weight in the center of the foot, do a little balance test. If you can take your hands off the bar and you feel like you're in balance, you're in a good spot. If you feel like you're leaning back and you let go of the bar and you're gonna fall backwards, get that weight transferred a little bit more forward, eyeball straight ahead, and we start by pressing the floor away rather than pulling up on the bar. Start by pushing through your feet. As far as power squat snatches, in the beginning, power snatches are gonna definitely be the way to go. But when do you switch to squat snatches? In my opinion, the way to do this is you don't commit one way or another. You just tell yourself, I'm gonna meet the bar. So if the barbell drives all the way up to here, you can catch it in a power. And if the bar only gets this high, you have to pull yourself into a squat. So if you tell yourself, I'm just gonna meet the bar wherever it is, it's a lot easier to transition between the power and the squat in the later rounds. So let your bar do the talking for you in that. As we get into the muscle up portion, the muscle ups, most of us are gonna be limited by the muscle ups at some point. It's really important to keep some reps in the tank. You can do this workout in all singles and probably still get a decent score. So as long as you never hit failure or need big rest periods, small sets all day long. Same concept, is 55 total muscle ups. If you're doing 55 muscle ups for time, you would do those in small sets. So keep that in mind as we go through here. When we go through these muscle ups, we wanna maintain as much tension as possible to really use your hips. Now, when you use your hips in a muscle up, I want you to keep your feet together and toes pointed with bent knees, not broken knees. So as I go through my arch position, I should not look like this. I want to think of a bent, curved line from my shoulders out rather than broken at any given point. So really think about that bend. Now when we come back through, you need to wait until your toes come all the way up in front to about hip level before you can turn your hip over. If you end up bending your knees early, and this kind of goes back to those bent, not broken lines. If the knees bend and my feet are behind, my hip is now not in a position to be able to turn over nearly as well. I've got to have the lever of my foot being out in front with my toe high. Now I can really turn that hip over and get drive up to the rings. So lead with the toes and bent, not broken lines. As far as the dip goes, there's gonna be a lot of shoulders with the snatches and the muscle ups. So once you guys have kipped up into the muscle up and you've turned over and landed in the dip, when we land at the dip, your toes will be slightly in front of you. At least they should be in front of you. Now, you wanna be patient and wait for that split second for your legs to naturally start drifting behind you As that happens, you will then pick up your whole leg. So I'm gonna pick up my heel and my knee towards my butt and generate lift to help kip out of that dip. And that's gonna save you a ton of pressing power on every dip. So once again, I'm gonna make sure that my lines are bent, not broken. Lead with the toes. Toes come up to about hip height. Then I pop the hip, sit. Once I sit, the toes are now in front. Let them drift back. As they drift back, I pick them up to generate lift and kip out of the dip. And that's gonna help you out the absolute best. Now, to show you what that looks like, bent, not broken. This is the same concept as a kipping pull-up on the bar, but it's gonna force you to get into a hollow position at the top if you wanna string your reps together. As the bar is fixed, once we do our kipping pull-up, we sit up at the top and you can bench press, push yourself away, and that will send you into the next arch effectively. With the rings, as they move, you won't have that same fixed position to push off of, so you have to pause for a split second at the top and really focus on sitting up. So as I go through this ring pull-up, I'm gonna make sure at the top I sit up with my chin on top of the rings, toes in front, a nice hollow position, and then I can fall away effectively and go into the next rep. All in all, in this workout, it's all about managing your fatigue levels. You can never move so fast on your snatches that it blows you up for the muscle ups, and vice versa. Keep in mind, this workout starts out being a snatch workout, and then it changes about halfway through, and it becomes a muscle up workout. So keep your fatigue managed, really go into small, quick sets in your muscle ups, and singles on the snatches.